Man, the word that comes to mind when I get to sit across from this gentleman is real. You got it tatted on your body. It's on the hat. That's because that is who you are. NF is in the house with me. What's going on, bro?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me back.
Of course. You become family now, man. And it's super cool to see these records and the stories that we've talked about before, that you put who you are so much into the lyrics, into every bit of it, to really come together with this European tour being wrapped and being sold out all but like one or like a half of a show. You know what I mean? And now hopping onto the Bobby Tarantino versus everybody with Logic and Super Duper Kyle, man. How have you taken the time to really sit back and realize that, or how proud are you of all that's come together of yourself?
I think it's like awesome, man. I mean, one thing I'm trying to work on in life is just like realizing moments while you're there.
Yeah. Sometimes you got family hitting you up and giving you good love. All of the vibes are there.
Sometimes when you're in it, it's just like you're not realizing what's happening.
Yeah.
But I mean, this tour with Bobby or Logic or whatever, like, and Kyle, like, it's been super cool for me because first of all, you're playing in front of like massive crowds, and I actually love playing shows in front of people that don't necessarily know who I am, or maybe they've heard of something but they don't really know my music. Because it kind of makes you have to like prove yourself more,
for sure.
So obviously doing your own like headline tour is dope because everyone knows your words.
They've been a fan of the trilogy. They've been there since day one.
But it is dope too to like get on stage and everyone's just kind of like, who is this guy?
But then when you turn those fans, that's got to be one of the best feelings as a songwriter. Again, going back to the word that's emblazoned on your hat, man. It's real. It's you. It's what you mean and what you stand for. To see those new fans become NF fans, that's got to be like one of the coolest things.
Well, and one of the cool things for me was like 4 years ago, because I actually had a moment to remember that made me realize how far everything's moved. Because I did a showcase, and I think I was talking to Six, Logic's producer, side stage one night while he was performing, and I was like, man, I think it was him, and I was like, man, this is crazy, like, because 4 years ago or so, I did a showcase with Logic, and it was like he just dropped his first album, I think, and I don't even think my first album was out yet. And so it's like, fast forward 4 years later,
here we are working again.
Yeah, and so we're on a tour, and he's headlining a tour with like, some of these dates are, I think our first show on this tour was like 14,000 people.
That's amazing, bro. What does it mean when you think about the opportunities to get out there and prove yourself on stages like Madison Square Garden? These are arenas that the greats have been in, and you're getting to prove who you are. You're getting to step out on stage. You're a part of this lineup and this bill because of what you do. That validation, man. What's that got to feel like?
I mean, for me, it just makes me really thankful. You know what I mean? For the opportunities and like, doing my own. It's going to help me in my own tours. And like the experience is also very beneficial. Not just like, it's great playing in front of a lot of people, but it also helps you because a lot of like my shows, like my last tour, the average show was probably around like 2,000 people for my own shows. There were some shows like 4,000 and 3,000, but I'd say the average is 2,000 to 2,500, and then
not to get hung up on the numbers, but how rad is it to see that your music is transcending, is connecting?
It's crazy, man.
And views, the videos over, you know what I mean? You're talking 50-something million, when you drop. So, just beyond just the numbers in the physical crowds, but to know that you are connecting.
Well, and I pay attention to all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Like I looked at when No Name came out, like as a single right after Perception, like that video is like 23 million views. I know that's not like insane.
No, that's
I mean,
nuts,
it
bro.
is to me.
I'm trying to go after like 100 views.
I'm just saying, like, people get like hundreds of millions. But I'm saying, like, for me, that's really awesome because a lot of it's discovery, but also just my fans are constantly like, what's next? Like, what's coming next? But like I was saying, for back to like the Logic tour, just to have a bunch of people that have never seen you, but also have a dope tour for like your fans to come out and just see. I think it's a great show.
Yeah,
Like
dog.
you have Kyle, which is super energetic.
Yep. Dude
Great,
is wild,
great
man.
performer.
He's out there surfboarding all across the place.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Yeah, he's wild as hell.
So you have him, and then you actually have, I think it's Lenny, which is one of Logic's
Yep.
artists. He's got like a super dope voice. And then you have Kyle, and then you got me, and then you got Logic, and it's just, I think it's a cool experience for fans
Just
for sure.
seriously, congratulations on just that, man. I mean, you over the past year and a half or so have really, you stayed persistent. You really grinded, and you've hustled, and that's, I think, what a lot of people may not fully understand, that it's not a flash in the pan. It's not something that you just all of a sudden just burst onto the scene. I mean, you've been at this for a while, so to see that hard work and to see that persistence really turn into this is something that's really dope, man. So congrats on
Thanks,
that.
man. I
Seriously,
appreciate
dude.
that.
Let's talk, just dial back just a little bit. Wango Tango, man. You had the chance to hit the stage in Cali and be a part of our big time iHeartRadio festival with names like Ariana Grande and Shawn Mendes.
Yeah.
When you get to be on some of these festival shows, are there things that you take away from other artists that you kind of like sit back maybe and you peek out a little bit and just see like, yo, I kind of like the way that, you know what I mean, such and such is hitting the stage, or that crowd interaction is something that I think I could work into my show. Do you study the craft a little bit that way? Maybe even with the Bobby Tarantino versus Everybody tour as well.
I mean, for something like Wango Tango, I haven't really done like.
That's different.
I don't really. Personally, those things make me super nervous because it's like a TV thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just not like.
Yeah. You're laid back.
I'm
you're
not
cool,
a
you
camera
even kill.
person. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't like cameras.
That's what's the dopest part about it. I see that you step out of your comfort zone a little bit. But you go out there and you own it.
So for me, that was really, I didn't really see anybody else like play this show, but like, yeah, I mean, it's just interesting. It's like, that's one thing I was going to say is like doing a tour like this with Logic.
Yep.
Like, it's such a different atmosphere. There's so many more people. The sound is way different.
Yeah, dude.
And so this tour is also really great for that, of just letting me experience a little more of that. So it's not like, because sometimes what can happen, man, is you can get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Like, at least for me. Like, when I do my own shows on this last headline tour, I was having like a mental break on my first tour this year.
Yeah.
Just like being overwhelmed.
It's a lot.
And it was like, because I was constantly getting on stage, and then I would feel like there's like so many people looking at you.
For sure.
And then you start to feel overwhelmed, like if you mess up or thinking about messing up, or like, yeah. And then it's like, yeah, man. I mean, when I did my first show in front of 4,000 people, you got to realize like a year and a half ago, my shows were like, 1,000, 1,200 people.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you're seeing that many people and they're all like, I was doing VIPs. It was my first time doing radio promo on a tour. I was just like exhausted. And it feels like there's so much expectation because, and you want to be the best you can be for your fans, but you're so tired. And it's like,
that's one of the things that I really, I commend you for that, because we've had this conversation a bit before, is that it takes a lot to step out and to put your heart out there and to put these true to life stories out there in front of a lot of people who they are judging, and it sucks. You know what I mean? And the fact that you have the courage to do that, if your fans haven't told you this, I'm guessing that they have over and over again, it means the world to us as the fans watching you muster up the energy and to know that a lot of that stuff is going on, but you're willing to to go out there, give it your all. And when you come off stage and you see that there are fans that are crying because the stories that you're telling mean so much to them, or that you've connected on that level, it's one of those things that, like, I can't say it enough, man. I mean, it's one of the dopest things.
Well, it's like learning. One thing that I've started to learn is like, I've always considered like saying no to like work as a weakness.
Yeah.
And so that's the struggle sometimes as an artist, when you have been grinding so hard, and like, that's what you have to do. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to do that. And I love that. Like, I love working and doing music and recording. But sometimes what I've learned is you also need to make sure there is a gap somewhere in your future that you're going to get a tiny break.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, that's kind of what happened to me, where it was like, man, I'm doing so many tours this year. Yeah. I've never done this many shows in a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's just like, man, and I'd never done radio promo.
Yeah.
Like, all my VIPs sold out, and I was like, oh, that's awesome, you know? And then I got on the road, and I was like exhausted. I was like, man. And, you know, when you're dealing with like things personally inside yourself, and every day people were like, you're the best. Like,
yeah, and you're
I want to be like you, or
dude, I got this thing going on in my heart right now.
Yeah.
Or this,
And so it made me feel like an imposter. It made me feel like I'm not as great as you think I am, or you don't really know everything about
you're
me.
Your truth through your lyrics, and that's one of the dope things. And I feel like this was one of the first things that we talked about. I think we hopped on the phone is that you're living your truth through the lyrics, and now you have so many fans, and just music has so many fans of true storytellers and musicians and people who are living their truth, and that's what's really cool about, and I commend you all, the listeners, for doing that and being that way as you support artists, because your truth in storytelling allows people to be there that are going through similar struggles, and they know, as much as we may put on our plate as the entertainer, so much pressure on ourselves to try to be perfect. But in those imperfections is where our fans or our people who are listening feel the perfection, if that makes any kind of sense. You know what I'm saying? So it's dope that you're opening up and doing that kind of stuff. Let's talk a little bit about Lie, man. This is another bop, dude. This is another banger, man. You've got a lot that you're sharing. Why do you choose, and why do you really like to make sure that you keep everything so real?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think when I sit down and write an album, I don't think I'm like, I need to make this like, it needs to be real or whatever, That just became like a thing for me, is like, I realized how personal my music was about my life, because I'll look back at 2 albums ago and I'll be like, man, I discover things about myself from writing.
For sure.
Because music is such a powerful thing to me and to a lot of people.
Yeah.
You can be driving down the road and put a song on, and you can get emotional, you can get
it happens, dude.
Fired up, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I guess I just realized, for me, like, that's what music is for me. And listening to my own album, sometimes I'm like, wow, it's crazy that I feel like that, or I'm experiencing that. I was writing the other day, and I was like, one of my favorite things to do is when I'm writing, I like to play the music loud. I like put my beats on sometimes. Sometimes I'll blow my vocals just because I really like to get into it. Yeah. I don't like sitting there and like whispering while I'm writing. I try to do it sometimes on planes and stuff, but I probably just look like a psycho. I'm like in the corner. I'm like, but no, man, like, like for me, one of my favorite things to experience personally is like, I don't know if you ever had like that overwhelming feeling, whatever it's in. It could be in music, it could be in anything.
Yes.
But for me, in music, like sometimes when I'm writing, I'll have this emotional feeling come over me. It's just like, I can tell what I'm writing is like powerful.
Yeah.
At least to me, because I'm like, man, I can feel how like emotional this feels.
The hair stick up on the back, right? I'm really like, the adrenaline is pumping.
And I think I don't remember if it was us, but that's like an experience I had when I wrote Intro 3 on Perception. And it was like, I was talking from the perspective of fear to me. And it was like, man, when I recorded that song, I was like shaking.
Yeah.
And that sounds so weird. But it was like, it was such a real moment. Like, it felt like your adrenaline was like going, and I was just like, man, this is like scary, but at the same time, me and my producer were like, whoa.
Something different happened. Something bigger happened. Those are the kinds of experiences that everyone has when they are, and again, I don't want to be like a repetitive person, but when they are speaking their truth. And that's just what I'm talking artists from the Elton Johns of the world to the damn it, the Madonnas. It's just like, you feel something because what you're doing is so true.
Yeah, music's powerful, man.
Music's powerful, bro. So we're talking about writing, and as we get ready to wrap things up, I gotta ask, and I gotta know, man, is there already another? Can I flash around the number 4? Is there already some
I'm always writing.
Yeah.
So I don't have like this is my first year where like I haven't like dropped an album or whatever. I'm touring so much, and there's a lot more to come that like people don't know about that I can't like say much about yet, but like I'm definitely like writing on stuff and recording, and that's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Just I've been on the road so much. It's like I don't have a crazy amount of time, but I'm definitely working on beats and like trying to figure out how to
when you get that time, doubling back a little bit in our convo here, when you get that time to take that little gap to just to unwind, to unleash, and just to relax and take that breath. Maybe you're digging your toes in the sand on a beach, and you know what I'm saying, and it'd be, I don't know where you want to go to just let your mind just
my mind doesn't really come down very much. I always say like I want to break, but then as soon as I get like
2 days into that break, it's back to get
not even like a day, and I'm just like I need to do something. But one thing that I will say that's been like dope is I think having some time to experience new things.
Yeah.
Just like my career in life has changed a lot, but I still experience a lot of the same things. But even like, I just feel like for this next album, of course, I'll still be struggling and talking about some of the same things because it's part of my journey.
Your journey. It's part of who you are.
Yeah. Yep. But also, I think I am experiencing some new things like to discuss. Yeah. Like a year and a half ago, I didn't have like 500 some million people streaming a song, and like I didn't have shows that were as big, or like, you know, like I said at the beginning of this tour, man, it's like there's a lot of overwhelming feelings to talk about that I feel like my fans would find interesting, just like experiencing this, because I've said it before in a lot of interviews and maybe even our interviews before, but like I don't care about like being famous. I don't care about like if I could do this and no one knew who I was, I would love that. Yeah. You know? Yeah. It makes me wish that I'd have wore a mask my whole career or something.
Wish I would have showed up like Dead Mouse every time. You know what I'm saying? Marshmallow hat. But I know what you mean, and it's very, that's why I say, and that's why I like that the consistent theme of our conversations have always been that it's about the music, and it's about the stories you're telling, and the fact that the album, you know, debuted #1 on Billboard, and that the songs are streaming, and that the videos are connecting, and the lyrics are really changing lives. That's what sets you apart right now in the game, because and I'll just keep it 100. I'm always trying to keep it 100. Is that's why, you know, your music cuts through, is because you know, in an environment where there can be loads of noise and people creating for the simple I got to create because I have to chase these numbers. You're creating from a whole different space, and those numbers are finding themselves.
Well, I just think once just trying to learn, like once I lost my train of thought, but I don't know. Like I don't want to just like look at like this end goal of like trying to reach this number. Of course I have goals. Yeah, but for me, I'm just like, man, I want to be enjoying what I'm doing and get to that place. And I think that's what's important, because sometimes once you lose, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, because it's like any business, anything you do, you have to do things that you don't love to do. Like that's just life. Like everyone has to do that. But it's also finding that balance of doing that, making sure everything's going great. But my favorite thing to do is record and write, because it's such a release for me.
Therapeutic.
So I got to make sure I'm doing that as well, because that's my favorite thing to do and what makes me love doing what I'm doing. So everyone has their own thing. You know, some artists, like, they have amazing vocals, but they're not as attached to like writing or like, you know what I mean? Like they're just like, they don't mind everyone kind of writing their stuff, or like
for sure. That's the way they attack. That's their game plan.
Totally. And everything's different. There's like, people are talented at different things and they have different passions. But for me, it's just like, I love it all, man. I love doing music videos, coming up with ideas. Like I love writing. I love making the beats with my producers. Like that's what I love. I love creating a visual to something.
And that's why this isn't going to be the last time we're going to talk. I'm telling you, dude, because it's you're doing it for the right reasons, and that's where the career longevity it begins. You set a really solid foundation since day one, going back to your first album to, you know, to just watching the building blocks stack up, man, to everything that has come your way. It's so deserving, because you're just doing it from the most genuine place that anyone could be doing. It is from the heart, bro.
Thank you.
I mean,
appreciate
that's no BS. I mean, we've said that before. I mean it, dude. So congrats on it all. I can't wait to get into the garden. And,
Thank you,
and see
man.
the show. Like, I mean, that's just one of those kind of moments where I'm just like, damn, dude. Like, that's one of our friends doing what he loves to do in this building that icons have stepped through, man. It just on the other side of this this countertop. I just want to let you know, man. You got a fan for life, bro.
Thank you, man.
Seriously.
Appreciate that.
It's NF, ladies and gentlemen.